All right, so are you ready to, like, really unpack some serious badassery?
Oh, always up for that.
Okay, good, because today we're going deep, deep into Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass.
Oh, love that book. It's so...
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we're going way beyond just, like, reading it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to break down all these awesome excerpts
Oh, nice.
and pull out all those golden nuggets of wisdom
Okay.
about how to ditch those pesky, like, limiting beliefs
Yeah,
and finally step into, like, your full potential.
I love it.
So think power of our subconscious,
Right.
facing fears head on, embracing, like, the magic of gratitude and surrender.
She's got such a great way of making these concepts, which can sometimes feel kind of, out there, really relatable.
Well, exactly.
By weaving in her own personal stories and, like, a good dose of humor.
It's like she's saying, hey, been there, done that, here's what I learned. And she kicks things off with a story that, like, perfectly illustrates the subtle ways our subconscious can totally sabotage us.
Mm-hmm.
This whole bowling alley accident leads to, like, some seriously weird mattress shopping.
Okay, bowling alley and macro shop.
I know, right? It's a wild ride.
All right, I'm intrigued.
So picture this. Sincero is in this, like, heated bowling match, super focused on making the winning shot right. But she misses the foul line, slips, and boom, injures her back.
Ouch.
Yeah. And weeks later, she's dealing with some, like, lingering nerve pain, and her acupuncturist is like, hey, you need a new mattress.
Okay, makes sense so far.
Right, totally logical. So she heads to this mattress store and gets this super creepy salesman
Oh, no.
who insists on lying down next to her on every bed.
Oh, my God.
I know, awkward.
Be out of there.
Right. But instead of, telling him to back off, Sincero's all worried about embarrassing him, so she ends up sneaking out without a mattress.
Oh.
And later she realizes, like, this whole avoiding confrontation thing, even when it's at the expense of her own needs, it's like a pattern in her family.
Ah, so that's where the subconscious programming comes in.
Exactly.
It's like our brains are running these, like, hidden scripts based on our past experiences, dictating our reactions without us even realizing it.
And that's what the book really dives into, like how these subconscious beliefs often stem from, childhood experiences.
Right.
And they could actually shape our reality.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like our subconscious is the blueprint. And if that blueprint is full of limiting beliefs, like those I'm not good enough or I can't do that messages, it's going to hold us back from creating the life we truly want.
So true.
Have you ever felt stuck in a pattern you just couldn't break?
Oh, all the time.
Like maybe self-sabotaging a relationship or like a career goal.
Yeah.
There's a good chance a limiting subconscious belief is lurking beneath the surface.
So how do we combat this big snooze, as Sincero calls it? That voice of fear and limitation in our heads.
So Sincero contrasts the big snooze with our higher self, right?
Yeah.
So the big snooze is fear-based, always replaying past mistakes or worrying about the future.
Yeah.
Keeps us stuck in our comfort zones, playing small.
Ugh, I know that feeling.
The higher self, on the other hand, that's all about possibility, right?
Right.
So it's the part of us that's connected to, universal energy, the force that creates everything.
Oh, I like that.
It's that voice encouraging us to, like, take risks, go for our dreams.
It's funny, she uses this analogy of the universe like throwing miracles at us.
Right.
A planet that spins perfectly, hearts that beat, the ability to, like, love, laugh, experience beauty.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us are so caught up in our own heads, we don't even notice.
Misses.
We totally miss it. And she even says, what more does the universe have to do to wake these bitches up?
Right. It's hilarious,
Ah.
but also kind of profound. We
Yeah.
take our existence for granted and, like, focus on what's wrong instead of appreciating the wonder of it all. I mean, think about animals or little kids. They're masters at living in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Experiencing life with this pure, like, joy and wonder.
Sincero's point is that everything we desire already exists.
Yes.
We just need to shift our perception to align with it.
Exactly. And here's something else to consider. Sometimes our growth can actually trigger negative reactions from others.
Oh, interesting.
It's not because they're trying to be mean, but because our evolution, it can challenge their own limiting beliefs.
Oh, okay.
Makes them uncomfortable. It's like their own big snooze is going, hey, wait a minute, you're not supposed to change. What about me?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Totally.
So if you're surrounded by negativity and small-mindedness, it's going to be tough to break free and, step into your power.
Exactly. So be mindful of your inner circle. Surround yourself with people who are supportive, inspiring, and already living the kind of life you aspire to.
Right.
Those are the people who will cheer you on, not hold you back.
I love that. So, ready to delve into conquering fear and overwhelm?
Oh, always a good topic. Let's do it.
All right. Sincero tackles this head on with a story about exploring a cave.
Oh, caves. Always a good setting for, facing your fears.
Right. So she's deep inside this cave, crawling through these tight spaces in pitch black.
Okay.
And suddenly this wave of fear just washes over her.
I can only imagine claustrophobia, darkness, the unknown.
Right.
That's a recipe for some serious fear.
Totally.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. In that moment, she realizes she has a choice.
Okay.
She can either give in to the fear and, stay stuck, or she can face it and crawl back out.
And that's so powerful, isn't it? We often feel like fear controls us, but Sincero reminds us that we always have the power to choose how we respond.
Yes, exactly. She also talks about feeling overwhelmed when she first started writing the book.
Okay.
She had all these index cards with chapter ideas, spread out all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like too much.
Overwhelm is something we all face, right? That feeling of being buried under a mountain of to-dos and responsibilities and expectations, it can be paralyzing.
What's her advice for dealing with that?
Well, Sincero's advice is to, break things down into smaller steps.
Okay.
Don't focus on the whole mountain. Just focus on the next step you need to take.
Yeah.
Stay present.
Right.
And remember that you don't have to do everything at once. One thing that really resonated with me was her emphasis on respecting our time.
Yes.
When we honor our time, we're honoring ourselves.
Oh, I like that.
It's about setting boundaries, saying no to things that drain us, and making space for the things that truly matter.
That's huge.
And, sometimes managing overwhelm means getting real about what's truly important. Are we saying yes to things out of obligation? Or are we prioritizing things that light us up?
Yes.
Align with our values. It's about making conscious choices and reclaiming our power.
I love that.
It's amazing how much our perception of time and our ability to prioritize really affects our sense of overwhelm.
Oh, totally. And speaking of things we tend to put off until the last minute, Sincero also tackles the beast of procrastination.
Procrastination, the art of delaying, usually something we know we should be doing.
Exactly. But Sincero has this interesting take on it. She says, we're often not really procrastinating.
Oh, okay.
We're actually, lying to ourselves about what we're capable of.
It's easier to make excuses, right? Or tell ourselves we're not ready than it is to face the discomfort of actually, taking action.
She uses the example of landing her first job after college. She had zero experience in the field, but went for it anyway, faking it till she made it.
That's a great point. Sometimes we just have to jump in and learn as we go.
Yeah.
We don't need all the answers or to be perfect before we start.
Done is better than perfect, she says.
Love that.
It's about getting started and building momentum, even if it's messy.
She also talks about identifying those points where we tend to get stuck and finding ways to, push through them.
Okay.
If social media is your downfall, maybe it's time to log off or delegate those tasks to someone else.
That's a good idea.
She has this funny suggestion of making a bet with someone who's mean.
Okay.
Someone who will hold you accountable.
Oh, I like that.
A little external pressure can work wonders.
That's true.
But ultimately, it comes down to self-discipline.
Yeah.
And that commitment to, showing up for ourselves even when it's uncomfortable.
Right. Sincero's big on self-love.
Yes.
Reminding us it's okay to mess up, start over, adjust course.
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of the process.
Totally.
Now, how about we shift gears a little bit and explore this idea of energy, the give and take of it all?
Oh, this is where it gets interesting.
I know, right?
Sincero shows how our inner world really does impact our outer world.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
She starts with this adorable story about her niece and a pack of Tic Tacs.
Okay, Tic Tacs. I'm intrigued.
So they're at the store, and Sincero's niece picks out these orange Tic Tacs. And get this.
Okay.
She charms the cashier into giving her the whole pack.
Sounds like she's already mastered the art of manifestation.
Right. So in the car, Sincero asks her for a pack, thinking she's going to teach her niece a little lesson about sharing.
I can see it coming a heartwarming lesson in generosity.
Exactly. But here's the twist. The niece not only happily hands her a pack,
Okay.
but then offers them to everyone else in the car, keeping none for herself.
Oh.
She's more excited to give them away than she was to receive them.
That's pure generosity right there.
It is.
It illustrates Sincero's point about how giving freely, like, it can create even more abundance.
It's like that energy we put out into the world comes back to us tenfold.
And speaking of abundance, this reminds me of another story Sincero shares.
Okay.
This wild tale about a bus ride in India.
Oh, this one's a classic. She's on this, like, super deluxe express bus, hoping for a smooth ride to Delhi.
Knowing Sincero's stories, I'm guessing smooth wasn't exactly on the itinerary.
You guessed it. First, she's stuck next to this chatty guy who barely speaks English.
No.
And despite promises of non-stop, they make this random detour into this tiny village.
I'd be getting a little impatient at this point.
But here's the thing. The driver had planned this like spontaneous tour of local temples led by a holy man.
Oh, wow.
And everyone on the bus is totally game. They embrace this like unexpected change, and it turns into this incredible unplanned adventure.
That's amazing. It's a powerful lesson in surrendering to the flow of life, right? Like letting go of those rigid expectations. When we do that, we open ourselves to unexpected blessings and experiences.
Exactly. And this ties into one of the book's core principles, gratitude.
Gratitude. It's more than just saying thank you, right?
Right.
It's an energetic shift. Sincero calls it the gateway drug to awesomeness.
When we're in a state of gratitude, we raise our vibration, and we attract more good things into our lives.
It's about focusing on what we have rather than what we lack. And Sincero makes this fascinating point that gratitude is ultimately about self-love.
You know, when you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
We're essentially expressing gratitude to ourselves, to the universe, to the energy that created us, for our ability to, like, create our reality.
And she also emphasizes the importance of forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Both for ourselves and others.
So important.
It's essential for releasing negative energy and moving forward.
Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts us in the end.
Forgiving doesn't mean condoning someone's actions.
Right.
It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying that anger and pain.
Exactly. She suggests, like, removing the other person from the equation.
Okay.
It's about understanding our role in the situation, the lessons we can learn, and choosing a more empowering response.
It's about taking back our power and recognizing that we always have a choice in how we react.
And she talks about surrendering to the universe, letting go of that need to control every little detail.
Yeah.
When we do that, we open ourselves up to possibilities we might never have imagined.
It's about trusting that everything is unfolding as it should, even when it doesn't make sense from our limited perspective.
Now, are you ready to dive into becoming a badass decision maker, especially when it comes to manifesting money?
Hit me with those money mindset tips.
All right, Sincero starts this section with a story about Henry Ford, the ultimate manifester.
Oh, of course, Henry Ford.
Right.
The man who revolutionized the automobile industry. What's the lesson here?
Well, Ford had this vision for a V8 engine with all 8 cylinders cast in a single block. And his engineers told him it was impossible.
I can imagine their skepticism. That was groundbreaking stuff back then.
But Ford insisted they find a way. And guess what?
Huh.
After a lot of trial and error, they did it.
Wow.
They created the seemingly impossible.
This story perfectly illustrates the difference between wanting something and truly deciding to have it. When we make a real decision, we commit to it fully, no matter what obstacles come up.
And often those decisions push us outside of our comfort zones, which can be scary,
Totally.
but also incredibly liberating. She even shares her own experience of choosing between a sensible Honda and a luxurious Audi.
Ooh, a classic dilemma, practicality versus desire. What did she choose?
She almost went for the practical Honda,
Okay.
but ultimately she listened to her heart and chose the Audi, a much bigger financial stretch at the time.
So she went for the badass option. Did it pay off?
Big time. Shortly after buying the Audi, she had her most successful year ever financially.
It's a great example of how expanding our beliefs, like, it can open us up to greater abundance.
Right.
Have you ever held yourself back from going after something you truly desired because you didn't think it was possible?
All the time.
What if you made a different decision?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's what this whole section is about. Recognizing those limiting beliefs around money and starting to shift them.
Sincero talks about money as energy and how our energy around money directly impacts our ability to attract it.
She uses this funny dialogue where money is talking about how humans have this, like, love-hate relationship with it.
Oh, yeah.
They want it, but are also afraid of it, judge people who have it, and often sabotage themselves from receiving it.
It's so true.
Mm.
We have all these mixed messages
Yeah.
and beliefs around money that can block us from experiencing financial abundance.
Totally. So what are some tips for shifting that?
Well, Sincero offers some practical tips for shifting our money mindset, like visualizing our financial goals,
Okay.
surrounding ourselves with people who have a healthy relationship with money,
Yeah.
and taking bold action.
It's about aligning our energy with what we want to create and then taking those inspired steps.
She reminds us that money is often about who we become in the process of earning it.
Oh, I like that.
It's about personal growth expansion, stepping into our power.
This deep dive is packed with so much insightful information, but we have even more wisdom to uncover. You ready to jump into the final part of our exploration of You Are a Badass?
Okay, so we've covered so much ground already, but guess what?
There's more?
There's more. There's still like a treasure trove of wisdom to unearth in this final part of our deep dive into You Are a Badass.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. So Sincero doesn't just leave us with the, theories and concepts. She gives us concrete steps
Right.
for actually living a more badass life.
I like.
Starting with ditching those like bad habits that are
That's it.
holding us back.
We all have them, right? Those
Yeah.
patterns of thought and behavior that keep us, stuck in a rut, even when we know better.
Exactly. It's so easy to get comfortable with those routines, even if they're not serving us.
Yeah, so true.
Sincero's advice, shine a light on those habits.
Okay.
Become aware of them and then consciously choose to replace them with more empowering ones.
So it's about repetition.
Yes. Consistently practicing new positive behaviors until they become second nature.
Exactly. It's like rewiring our brains for success,
I love that.
replacing those old limiting patterns with ones that, support our growth.
And speaking of rewiring, Sincero talks about the importance of paying attention to that inner dialogue.
Oh, yeah, the chatter.
Yeah, the voice in our heads that's constantly chattering away.
Oh, wow.
Are we criticizing ourselves?
Right.
Focusing on what's wrong?
Yeah.
Or are we speaking to ourselves with kindness and
Yeah.
encouragement?
That inner critic can be such a drag.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. But the good news is we have the power to choose our thoughts.
Yes.
And those thoughts, as Sincero reminds us, shape our reality.
She has this great phrase, breathe amongst the people.
I love that.
And it's not just about, formal meditation.
Right.
It's about finding moments throughout the day to pause, take a deep breath,
Yes.
and reconnect
Yes.
with ourselves, with that universal energy
Right.
that flows through everything.
It's about bringing that sense of mindfulness and presence into everyday life, even when things get chaotic.
Using the breath as an anchor to bring us back to the present moment,
Right.
especially when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or triggered.
Creating those little pockets of peace throughout the day to recharge
Yeah.
and tap into our inner strength.
Sincero also reminds us about the importance of our inner circle.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about this before.
I know we have, but
It's worth repeating.
it's so important.
The people we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on our energy, our beliefs, our overall well-being.
She talks about hanging high, spending time with people who inspire us, support us, and challenge us to grow.
Yes. People who are living on purpose, pursuing their dreams,
Wait.
radiating positive vibes.
It's about creating an environment that nourishes our souls
Mm-hmm.
and helps us become the best versions of ourselves.
Right.
And she encourages us to invest in ourselves.
Yes.
Whether it's, hiring a coach, taking a course, or even just buying a book
Right.
that speaks to our hearts. It's a reminder that our personal growth is worth prioritizing.
Absolutely.
And it's an act of self-love to invest in our own development.
And speaking of investments, we can't forget about money.
Right. Money, money, money.
Sincero challenges us to examine our beliefs about money
Yeah.
and identify any limiting thoughts that might be blocking our financial abundance.
It's about getting honest with ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we afraid of success?
Mm.
Do we feel guilty about having money?
Right.
Do we believe we're not worthy of wealth? Those subconscious beliefs can really sabotage our efforts to create financial security and freedom.
Sincero pushes us to step up and challenge those beliefs.
Yes.
To up-level our vision of what's financially possible for us
Yeah.
and start taking bold action towards our goals.
Whether it's asking for a raise, starting a side hustle, investing wisely, or just managing our money better.
Yeah. It's about taking control of our finances
Yeah.
and creating a life of abundance.
One of my favorite parts of the book is the story Sincero shares about her grandmother, Nana.
Oh, tell me about Nana.
So Nana lived through some of the most incredible technological advancements in human history, right?
Yeah.
She witnessed the invention of the telephone, the car, the airplane, the television.
Wow.
I mean, she saw it all.
Talk about a front row seat to progress.
Right. What amazed her the most?
Well, I don't know. What was it?
Well, putting a man on the moon definitely blew her mind.
Okay.
But she was equally impressed by the soda dispensers at McDonald's. You know, those machines where you can choose your drink and it just pours out.
Oh, yeah.
She thought that was pure magic.
I love that. It's a good reminder that even the things we take for granted can seem miraculous if we look at them with like a fresh perspective.
Totally. And there's this great story about taking Nana to a restaurant at the top of a tall building. As they get into the elevator, someone accidentally presses the button for their current floor, causing the doors to immediately open back up.
I've totally done that before.
So embarrassing.
So embarrassing.
But Nana, thinking they had somehow traveled 45 floors in a split second, just steps out of the elevator, pats her hair, and says, "Why not?"
That is the perfect embodiment of Sincero's message. Approaching life with a sense of openness, curiosity, a willingness to embrace the unexpected.
It's a reminder that life is a grand adventure. It's full of surprises, challenges, and opportunities for growth.
And we get to choose how we experience it.
We could approach it with fear and resistance, or we can choose to embrace it with courage, joy,
yes,
a badass attitude.
Yes.
So what stood out to you from our deep dive into You're a Badass?
Oh, man, so much. I mean, Jen Sincero really does a phenomenal job of blending humor, personal stories, and practical advice in a way that's both inspiring and empowering.
I agree.
She reminds us that we have the power to create the life we want, you know? It starts with shifting our beliefs, facing our fears, and taking action.
And maybe there's a badass decision you've been putting off, a dream you've been too afraid to pursue.
Ooh, that's good.
What would it look like to step into your full potential?
Remember, your reality is a reflection of your thoughts and beliefs. If you want a different reality, start by changing your mind.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
This was awesome.
I know, it was so fun. Until next time, keep unleashing your inner badass.